Another hashtag Ask Jim. So we're live on the Facebook page right now on YouTube. So before we get over to you, Jim, and get everyone's question, I just want to go over a couple of things. So if you haven't heard about it, I'm sure Steph would have mentioned it because she's organising it with Rocky and Tori, is the trade days. Everyone heard about the Jim's Group Family Trade Day? Obviously it's in Victoria at Yarra Glen on the 16th of March. Really great event, the trade show. There's heaps of prizes, really good things, free entry, free food, all that sort of stuff there as well. So it's at the Yarra Glen on March 16. Charles will be putting up on the screen right now a QR code as well for some more vendor info. But please get along to that if you're in the Melbourne area as well. It will be a great day, 16th of March. And the other thing, Jim, I wanted to mention was that Jim's Jobs, you're going to call it Jimbo, that's getting closer to being trialling. So maybe just talk real quickly about Jimbo, because I know some of you invested a lot of money in, about the customer app for franchisees here.
Yeah, it's been rewritten in a new platform, which is the problem. The old one wasn't quite stable enough, but it's going to have a lot of really great changes in it. Like there'll be systems that'll actually remind franchisees to ring back within 2 hours, make it really easy to send a text. Eventually we'll be able to book jobs straight into your diary, and there'll be a whole lot of other things that'll improve it. So it's going to be a really good system. That'll be, hopefully, the basics will be finished this year.
I've been told at the end of the month actually is opening to testing.
Yeah.
And then I think the full release is end of the year, but open to testing for franchisees. So if they do want to get involved with the testing, they can reach out to Infotech as well. Cool. All right, let's get into it. Who's got a question for Jim? Come up to the microphone. Who's going to be the first one to kick us off? Just come up. You're the closest one right there looking around. I reckon you. Really easy. Just have to.
Give me 2 seconds and I'll figure out
all right, you just have to stand up there. But guys, the microphone's there. Who wants to come up and ask Jim anything at all? Thank you. Awesome. First one. Good man. Appreciate it.
So, back in the day when I'd look at gyms years ago online, it was sort of like, oh, we're the mowing business, but I saw a funny video and it was like, nah, you're actually in the trailer selling business. But I've just started, I'm really excited. Notice though that you guys don't actually sell trailers. Is there any reason why Jim's doesn't sell trailers? I've got to find someone who does it.
It's a very good question actually. One thing we've learned, we did actually have a shop at one stage, a factory making fiberglass trailers. Let's face it, they were good trailers, but we lost a packet of money on it. So what we do is we stick to the things we know. Service franchising we understand, building trailers, many other things we've tried, we tend to come a cropper. Yeah, so stick to what you know and just work on that. That's the principle. One of the hardest lessons I've learned in business.
See? All right. Thank
That's
you.
a good question. It's a
good question. Very good question.
We appreciate the first one as well. Jump up, go for it. Yeah.
So I bought 150 clientele.
Wow.
That's
a good
yeah, tell me about it. The only thing that I'm worried about is going on the day with him. He kind of, like, it wasn't 100% flat rate, but it was a flat rate of $50 a lawn, near on.
What?
Yeah, exactly. That was my thing. I didn't know until speaking to a few of the other boys, obviously that's a bit low, yeah. So my question is, I understand that if I lose clientele, that it's, not due to my fault, but if I up the price, is that still due to my fault?
I'm sorry, it's not exactly your fault, but you couldn't just put the prices up massively.
Yeah.
You still have to pay for them. If you lose them because they're not good clients, yeah. But $50 a lawn is very low.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Typical price is more like $60, $70 these days.
Yeah.
So you'll probably have to work for a while, get them under your belt, do 2 or 3 cuts, and then start putting your prices up.
Yeah. There
you go. Very good question. That's a specific one.
Yes, very good.
And there's a 45-day period, isn't there, with drop off with customers?
Well, that's what I was wondering is, like, I know if it's not your fault.
Yeah.
But is that still classed as your fault? Because
it's a good question.
Well, it's not your fault, but if you put your price up, you couldn't claim it.
Yeah, really good question. That's it, guys. Any questions for Jim? Come up and ask him anything you like. I know I've got him here, but we wanted to get you on there for the TikTok.
This is the lady who's a wonderful member of the audience. I look out to her and give her a talk. She has a beautiful smile.
Oh, thanks, Jim.
It's a good compliment from Jim.
You
That's
too.
very rare. That's as rare as hands too. Yeah.
What influenced your choice in history for study, and what area of history was your specialty?
I was interested in the rise and fall of civilizations. From as a teenager, even at the age of 14, it just fascinated me. I wanted to know why it happened. So that's basically my area, is the reason for the decline of civilizations. And I think I've worked out why, and it's got to do with biology. There's a book coming out called The Baby, Birth Rate Crisis, which will actually talk about that and talk about the biology behind it and how you can cure it. But yes, the broadest thing possible. That's why I failed in my academic career, because you're going to be a historian, you've got to be the world's expert in one particular period of time. I was the biggest generalist possible, not just history, cross-cultural anthropology, biology, you name it. So far too wide.
Yeah, and if you could give any design notes on, the human design, what would they be?
Sorry, what do you mean by the human design?
Well, so like physically, the way that humans are designed, would you have any design notes? Like mine would be like the epiglottis, because it's so stupid that you can literally breathe in food and choke to death and die. So
I think we're an amazing product of evolution. If you look at all people are, we're capable of far more than we achieve at the moment. And I think if people could learn to live well, and a lot of that's to do with faith communities and so forth, meaning like going to church or synagogue, mosque, temple, whatever, being part of a faith community, living a life that's based on other people rather than yourself.
More than just you.
So much more effective. People are capable of living much better lives than we often do.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with the human design itself. It's what we make of it that's important.
Right. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Do you want to plug your book? Well?
Yes, it's the book here, which
Yeah, I'll
talks.
get your pen.
That's an older version, which is partially obsolete now, but that's Epigenetics and Character.
Right.
Which is one of my books.
So you can download that for free actually as a PDF from Jim's website, so jimpenman.com.au. You can download
Is it
that
an
for free.
audio book?
I don't know if did we do a free audio book for that one?
There is an audio book somewhere.
There is an audio book for that one, yeah.
I think if you go to
Byhistory.org.
byhistory.org, you can probably download the audio book from there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
There you
Okay.
go. Very, very good question there. Guys, come up, ask Jim a question, anything you like. Go for it. Everyone gets a prize who asks questions. That's a really easy way to get this.
Hey, a quick question with dog wash. A lot of things change over the years, and people know dogs as like their pets and their babies. Now, if you think about that, new things are evolving, like canine remedial massage therapy. Is there a way you can see that in combining that with dog massaging, with the dog wash?
Dog massaging.
Yeah, no, I'm accredited with the Australian Canine Rehab Association, so it's basically like a dog physio.
Dog physio.
Yeah,
Never
there's a
heard
lot
of
of dog physios, and then there's
It'd probably be a different division actually, because most of our people couldn't do it.
yeah.
We've got over 200 franchisees in dog wash. I doubt I think you'll be the first one to be able to do it. So we couldn't have it as a service without the training.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So including that in this training package, if you
don't
have the
know.
right sort of people to do that.
We could have a think about it. I don't know. Is it a big demand for it?
Well, in Melbourne, definitely. In Queensland, it's booming. Sydney, but yeah, where I am, I'm trying.
Do you need a qualification to do it?
So yeah, you do. So there is a particular lady within Melbourne where you can do the course, and as I've mentioned, you can becomes accredited with the Australian Canine Rehab Association, and then there's also people that's done a proper physio degree.
How long does the course take to do?
Well, that's a good question. It can be, I think, 6 months or longer, depending on how you actually contribute to it. But it is basically learning about anatomy, how to work with vets, assessing the gait of how a dog walks, etc. So there's a lot of things around that.
That'd be difficult because we do pretty good dog washing and grooming. It takes about a week, and that's possible. A 6 month course, franchisees just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it has to be something like a new division. Because
Yeah.
you're not going to get any significant number of franchisees spending 6 months getting a qualification.
Yeah.
Especially when they're pretty well flat out the whole time.
Yeah.
Dog wash has got one of the worst levels of unservice of any division, so there's not
Yeah, I
much
know that, yeah.
interest in going beyond that. So maybe a new division one day. You never know.
Who knows, yeah. Thank you.
Well, that's where driving school came from. Driving school, you've seen all that's one of our Mowing franchisees started that one. They've got 12 in training this week. We just took a group photo out the back. There's one guy in Mowing who started that.
Lance is here as well, I think, too.
Lance, are you here?
Yeah, you see.
And his wife, Emmanuel.
Oh, hi, good to meet you. It's a great week for you.
No, it's good to see. No, it's a good question as well. So that's our new division. Maybe Jim, just real quickly. Yeah. Come over here to the
Come
mic.
here.
Yeah. In here. I didn't know there was dog rehab, so there you go. Well, that's something new.
So you've already started the initiative for the driving instructor division.
Yes.
Are there any plans for truck driving or even rider courses, like motorcycle riding?
Yeah.
Probably not the best person to ask for that one. Yeah.
If you like my question, I would like to go for one of those hats over there, the signature.
Very direct.
I was told if you have a good question, Jim might give you a hat, apparently.
Let me tell you.
Very
Let me say
direct.
about motorbikes. I've told my 15-year-old son he's very welcome to get a motorbike and start riding it when he turns 18. But as soon as he comes to my place, I'm taking a sledgehammer to it. Because it's very dangerous.
I think the answer's
On that note, I would like to throw my virtual hat that you're going to give me whenever your son is ready for his learners. You can reach out to me.
We might ring 1315 for this.
So you're saying you want to offer truck driving courses? Is that what you're saying? Offer truck driving courses
yes,
and motorcycle courses.
Yes.
So
yes.
as a division.
Truck driving is possible within the division. I think within driving school division, I reckon that's a good one.
Yep.
Like an extension, but it's pretty well paid. Actually, your hourly rate's quite good on that kind of stuff. But you do need a lot more training, don't you?
For truck driving, yes, and also for rider safety, like you have to do a rider safety course in order to get started. The same process is for you start with your L's and you grow from there. So
That's
a
divisional question. So the man Lance is the one you want to ask for that one.
Yeah, talk to Lance about it. It might be an extension.
And what about the hat, Jim? He's been very direct, asking you openly for the hat. Which hat was it?
Which hat do you want?
The signature hat.
Which one?
I
This
forgot
The bucket hat.
the bucket hat.
one?
Sorry,
No, that's not.
The bucket hat.
Is there a bucket hat here?
There is a bucket
Under
hat.
that.
Oh, this one here.
I have my eyes on it.
You want
Yeah.
that? I'll come up afterwards.
Yeah, wait to the end. Wait to the end.
Yes,
Yeah,
sure,
all good,
sure.
all good.
Thank
Good
you.
question.
Thank you.
Nice and direct. There you go. Really good question. All right, guys, you got a question? Keep asking Jim. We've got heaps of time for him. Anything you like about the system, just come up. Don't have to put your hand up. Come up anytime.
Hi Jim, my name's Chris Way. My question is, if you could give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be, knowing what you know now?
There's a lot more money in mowing than I ever would have thought possible. It took me a long time to figure out what a brilliant business it was. I was going to be everything when I was young, professional, doctor, vet, whatever, then academic. And even when I started mowing lawns full time, I never thought it would be something that would continue. I just had no comprehension how well it could work.
Yeah.
I really didn't. Yeah, lawn mowing,
Well,
great.
knowing. I'm in the right business then.
You are too.
Very good question. Cool. Got a question here? Come up.
Yeah,
go
come.
for it. Come up. Don't wait. Just come up. Go for it.
No, come up the front and,
Yeah, come up and ask anytime.
and ready to wait.
This is for our TikTok camera and our Instagram camera. That's right.
Congratulations, Jim, for your business successes. I'm one of your #1 fan.
Thank you.
So my question is, from mowing, cleaning, before you decided to roll out these different divisions, did it cross your mind about brand dilution? And if you did, why did you still go ahead to roll out all these divisions?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. We weren't so much thinking of brand dilution. We just thought, when we started looking at it for something apart from mowing, we thought it wouldn't work because it's such an obviously mowing design. This is what it looks like, mowing lawns. So it's a gardening, mowing logo, and we didn't think it'd work for cleaning. But what we discovered that it does work quite well for cleaning in every other division. It actually reinforces it. Every time a person has a good experience with dog wash, or cleaning, or mowing, or building inspections, or pest control, or driving school, they're more likely to ring another division. So we find it actually cross-fertilizes really, really well. What we found is that if you run a campaign for one division, like an intensive campaign for cleaning, other divisions get more work too. So they actually support each other. Just as long as we stick to the service industry. We're not going to do anything like retail, fast food, anything like that. We'll stick to the service industry, but it works very, very well. I wouldn't have thought so, but that's just the practice.
All right.
Yeah, good question.
Thank
Good
you.
question. Cool. Got a question, guys? Feel free to just come up and go for it. Yep, come up. Go for it. Rip through them.
Thank you, Jim, for giving me a chance to ask you a question. I know Jim Group is taking a lot of taking care of economy and taking a burden of a government because providing opportunity for the employment, and that is basically base for the nation.
Not a lot of our franchisees seem to be facing unemployment. Usually, you've got people who are sort of at least average to above average in terms of their work skills.
So my question
We're
is,
mostly pinching you off another job rather than off the dole.
yeah, no, but still, that makes a huge impact on the economy as well, because unemployed are getting employment. Because now question basically is related to this. This is another part of building the nation. What about, are you thinking anything coming towards the making the youngsters capable of doing something, coming into education sector?
Well, the big thing we need to do is have more kids going into trades. There's too much people getting degrees, particularly arts degrees, which have very limited value, and you learn very little. They just give you a bit of advantage when you're going for a job, but you learn almost nothing of value. So I think a lot more young kids should be going into trades, whether it's gardening, plumbing, carpentry, fencing, all kinds of things, because you can make very good money. Our franchisees we aim to earn at least $70 an hour, which means a typical franchisee in gyms makes more than 100 grand a year clear, based on the surveys we've done.
Yeah, there are
that's a pretty good income, and that's no education at all. You don't even need to complete high school. In fact,
I agree.
Dan Cole, one of our, I think you heard of tomorrow. Dan Cole was a high school dropout, and he's now a multi-millionaire in his early 30s.
I know, but there are certain sectors in even hand-off jobs which needs a little bit of expertise and qualification, not a very high level of qualifications. But if we do it, we are building them, we are providing the opportunity, even if we train them and get them ready from the scratch, start everything.
Education is important. That's what we do in this course.
That's
what we do with our meetings and so forth. But education is just as clear when you're doing something like an apprenticeship as it is going to university. In fact, you're learning a lot more that's practical. I just think that with people who push too much into this academic route, they go in. If you're not that great a student, if you're a great student, you're going to become dentist or a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. That's pretty good. Okay, fine. There's a good income in that. But if you're not such a great student, going to university is often a pretty bad idea, because a lot of the kids who are marginal just drop out and they're stuck with this huge HECS debt, and they're not earning money for some years. And sometimes when they actually finish, they can't find a job that's anything like what they're supposed to be doing. So, yeah, more people should go into the trades. To work with your hands. I'm very proud of the fact that I've got blisters and I've got calloused hands because of my gardening that I do on my farm. I think it's good.
Okay, all good. Thank you.
Very nice compliment too about your impact in the economy, Jim. I haven't heard that one before. Very
Yeah.
nice. But our franchisees employ a lot of people as well, so it's probably right. They employ a lot of people. So
That's probably where we take off the dole, is to actually employ people. Many of you will employ people. That's a very useful thing you can do. And then you can help them and train them, and who knows, you might become franchisees themselves one day, have their own business.
we've actually got a couple in here. I think Gerald, one of our friends that we've interviewed, his son-in-law's here. So he's worked with Gerald for a while, then he's come into training, so it's good to see. Yep, come up, go for it. Ask me anything you like.
Hey, Jim. So just kind of to piggyback off that discussion, in our training today, there was this one bit where you were kind of mentioning team meetings. And I was at first it didn't seem like there was value in team meetings. And then it turned out to be something that really connected people together and gave value. I hear you in terms of doing a trade. Obviously I've switched and I'm doing a trade now, and I'm a very hands-on person.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of thinking in parallel, in retrospect, when you mentioned the arts thing not having value, from a business perspective, it might not have value, but what about from a social perspective? Similar to the meetings, those arts degrees, people involved in that, do they not provide a benefit to our society?
You didn't do an arts degree, did you? Did you?
No.
Oh, good. Okay. That's great. We didn't offend you.
That would be biased.
Before when we said that, I think it says a bit more quick word.
That would be biased, but I'm just kind of thinking if there's some kind of parallel there in terms of at first it might not have a business kind of application, but in reality there is a extended connection that does make the whole ecosystem work.
It's a good question. There's a wonderful book called The Case Against Education, which talks about this particular nature. And what they find is that in terms of actual practical learning that has any impact, arts degrees have virtually no impact. Our levels of literacy are going down. More and more kids are going to university, and we're actually less literate than we were 20 years ago. So extra education is making us dumber in that sense. You really remember very little of what you do in an arts course. You apply very little. And in my experience, people who go to university, especially in arts degrees, tend to be more indoctrinated. They go out with all these ridiculous woke ideas with no sense of the real world. Even finance courses, they're so impractical. They've really got nothing to do with business that I would recognise. The only thing that does is maybe get you a job in a big corporation or something like that. And they say, oh, well, you're smart enough and you're hard working enough to spend 3 years wasting your time doing a course, so maybe we'll employ you rather than somebody else. That's about all there is to it. There's actually very little useful learning in an arts degree. There's any benefit to life at all. Case Against Education, I call Brian Kaplan. It's a very good book.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
Very good question.
Cheers.
We actually did a few clips with Jim saying arts degrees are useless, and the Daily Mail picked it up. And as you can imagine, they've got a few comments online from people who did arts degrees, so that's the only reason I had to check.
Well, actually, I did an arts degree and a PhD, so I'm an expert in that. And I can tell you it has no relevance at all to making a living.
Very good question. Yeah, go for it. Come up, ask anything you like.
Hey guys, I had a question around if you had to swap businesses for a year, which industry would you take over and gymify?
Which business would you gymify? I like that.
You're talking about a trades business?
Or
Any
business.
industry, any business.
Well, I kind of like tourism in a way, but it's probably just why I don't get into it because I'm not much of an expert. My wife, who runs this place, is much better at tourism than I am. But that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I'd love to I always had a dream of having a place in the country, like a country cabins or something like that. Because I love the countryside. I'm not a fan of cities.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that would appeal to me. But service industry is great though. It's got the best potential. Honestly, better than anything.
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
So Jim's Resorts, like the big 4 caravan park. Jim's Casino, yeah.
I probably wouldn't go into casinos because I find that an immoral industry. If you look at the way casinos work, they're just machines to get money out of it. Everything about the way that the whole floor is. They always put the toilets at the far end, so you have to wander to get there. And
Don't show the exit signs.
and try and cash in your chops to make it chips, make it very, very difficult. It's very cleverly designed to take all your money away. Gambling is a very nasty thing. I really wouldn't be involved.
But the resort idea, Jim, I know you looked at it a few times.
Resort is good. I like the idea of resorts. I wouldn't go into gambling, prostitution.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at. Saunas, but
Alcohol. There's a lot of things I dislike.
You're sort of in alcohol, I guess.
Well, you're already in alcohol.
That wasn't his choice, though. That was me forcing it. It's all good. Go for it.
I'm not in the business.
Go for it. Come up and ask the question. Go for it.
Alright, cool. Hey Jim, bit of a weird one, but have you ever secretly called one of your own franchisees for court just to see how they perform?
Good question.
Oh, I often call my franchisees for jobs, but not to see how they're performing, just to get work done. I had, what's the last one I used? A couple of weeks back, I used somebody from Mobile, guy I know, Frank, Tyres, Mobile Tyres. He's great, gets brilliant service, love him. I get Jim's Antennas, I've got a guy I use regularly for that, anything to do with, electronic connections or hanging up. What else? I've had people doing mowing work for me. We often get Jim's guys to do it. I mean, you guys are pretty good. Why wouldn't we use you?
Yeah, that's right. Alright, cool. Alright.
But no secret sauce.
I also recommend to my children too. My daughter and son-in-law just moved house. They got a new baby and they moved house. So we got Jim's building inspections, Jim's conveyancing, and Jim's handyman, all doing work for them. Really, really good.
But no secret sauce.
She said in the past she thought Jim's was too expensive, but now she sees the quality, she's sold.
There you go. Good question.
Good question.
Cool. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim.
I have actually an advantage about that, because I don't just ring 1 3 1 5 4 6. What I do is I go and look at ratings. So I pick somebody with at least a 4.8 rating that I know I've got somebody good.
And he saves you the lead fee. You call them direct, don't you? Call them on the mobile?
Yeah, normally I call them direct, yes.
Very good like that. Cool, go for it. Come up and ask a question.
Sorry, I thought I'd give someone else a chance for a second there, but I've recently just come out of train brake refurbishment and trades like that, and hose building, hydraulic hose building and stuff. I was just wondering if we had any possibility of adding tool calibration into any of our stuff, like test and tag and fire safety could maybe stick some tool calibration in there, or do you have a separate franchise for tool calibration?
First I've heard of it, yeah.
Look, it's a good idea. I'd probably talk to the test and tag division if that was the case. But how difficult is it to learn?
I haven't looked that far into it. I literally just thought of it at the table. But torque wrenches and stuff, it's really hard to get them calibrated in Perth. It's quite difficult to find people, and especially mobile calibration. I'm not really sure what that would entail, but they don't seem to do a lot when they do it.
I think it's a great idea, actually. I really like it. Because the thing is about test and tag is they deal with Tools a lot. They test and tag tools. Well, if you're going to test them, you can calibrate them. They also go into factories a lot. So there's the two things, tradies, tools and factories.
Yeah, and if you send them away, you have to send them away for weeks.
Yeah.
And that's half your benches down in a workshop for ages.
I'll talk to test and tag about that. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
There you go. Good question. Got a question, guys, for Jim? Please feel free to come up and ask him. Anyone?
You'd be surprised where our divisions come from, actually. It's often just an idea that somebody has. And we just do it.
Cool.
When test and tag started, I didn't even know there was a service called test and tag. I thought the Sparkies did it.
Well, it used to be called electroshock or aftershock.
We called it anti-shock.
Anti-shock,
and they had
that's
the thing with a...
I've still got that up there, yeah. It's true, then it changed the name to...
Test and tag is better, yeah.
Go for it. Come up, ask Jim a question. Go for it.
Hi, Jim. I'm with dog washing up in Townsville, and I'm actually switching over from the community services sector, specifically homelessness. And my question was, and I know a few people have brought up about expansion of divisions, but I've noticed a really big trend is a lack in doggy care when people become homeless. So has there ever been anyone who's considered like a division of like Jim's boarding or anything, or even establishing, I guess, buildings throughout other states? I know this is the headquarters, but is that something that anyone's ever looked into, or?
Okay, it's unlikely we do anything that includes a fixed place, fixed site, because we don't understand that business very well. We did have a division called Jim's Pet Care, but it didn't actually work out that well. We just couldn't find enough high-paying work. And they would do things like feed the pets while the people were on holidays, and they did things like walking them and providing
pet sitting and stuff, yeah.
Pet sitting and this kind of stuff too. But there just wasn't enough money in it. So most of them we transferred to other divisions like dog wash or other divisions because it just wasn't viable. But site-based is a very different area. We tried, many years ago, doing gyms, health clubs, and it was a real bad thing because we just didn't understand it. And so we couldn't help. And the people who put their money into it, which some of our franchisors actually lost a lot, including my wife actually. So stick to what you know.
Very, really good question as well. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim. Got plenty of time. Let's come up. Anyone think of anything? It's quite a group. Normally we have people coming in. I'll read from the paper. So we've got one here from George. So George St. Lucia's gone. I've heard you in previous podcasts you've recorded. You would have been happy if you signed 100 franchisees. So do you ever pinch yourself because you're doing more than that every month now?
We probably do about 100 a month, I think, or something, or close to.
That,
yeah, it's surprising. Very, very surprising. All I can say about business is nothing ever works out as you expect. Most things work out a lot worse than you expect, and some things like this business work out far better than you could possibly imagine. But nothing's what you expect, which is why I'm a great believer in experimentation. You just got to try different things. You have an idea, it was not too expensive, just try it, see what happens. Maybe it doesn't work, it hasn't cost you too much, but maybe it does work. There's certain things we've done that have been phenomenally successful. Franchise itself, also the surveys. I couldn't have comprehended when we did that what a difference it would make, because when we dropped the level of complaints, the leads just soared. It's absolutely unprecedented what happened, and that was something. Who knows? I didn't know it had any impact at all, but I couldn't have imagined it to be so great.
If you've got a question, guys, feel free to come up and ask Jim. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you want to ask him. Just come up and ask him. Get a prize, easy to do. If you want the beers, good chance to get the beers easy.
Hey, I'm Michael. Yesterday in one of the courses we saw that there was 96% brand recognition of gyms. Does that blow you away to think that 96% of people in Australia recognise your face on a t-shirt or a car or...
We can just tell why the meme stickers that go around.
It does blow me away. What's happened to the other 4%? Are they in coma or something?
Might not be able to read, who knows?
Exactly.
Yes, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Yes. The funny thing about it is that I'm a lot more famous than I'm rich. I was out there having some dinner with some guys, and they pointed out that if we were in India, I'd have a half dozen policemen around me if I was that powerful. I'm not that rich. No way. It's awesome. It's actually a fairly small business. They tried to put me down for the BRW Rich 250 or whatever, and I said, don't be silly, I'm not even close.
But I think the good brand strength for all the young people, they always like the stickers and all the memes and stuff as well. You always see like Dan Murphy memes, Bunnings and Jim's Mowing, or the Jim's logo with all that sort of stuff. I think that's really, really good. We have kids going to dress up to their dress-up days as Jim's franchisees, like 10 kids dressed as different services and stuff like that. I think that's a really good sign of brand strength. You do all these NPS at schools.
I think
and stuff.
what you do, like having the face on all different things, like with the people that were here yesterday, with the signs, the big tents and everything like that, like you're happy to get it out there. It's really cool to see not all places are like that. So it's really cool what you all do.
It's good actually. We have a particular appeal to the 15 to 25 demographic too, which is fantastic for driving school. It's one of the reasons we really wanted this division, because that's our best area in terms of penetration and things like TikTok. That age group is great for us. So it's going to go brilliantly, isn't it, guys?
We're going to do another Jim's logo comp as well, so we do a lot of meme comps and stuff like that, and some good prizes, so keep a cheer out for that one as well. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim anything you like. Come on, anyone, go for it. I've got some online too, Jim, which I'll get to you as well for the people online. I'm getting blinded by this, son. I'm going to need Jim's optometry after this bloody thing tonight.
If Jim's group expanded into space, what would the first franchise be? Jim's Mowing or?
Jim's Mowing. Jim's asteroid collection.
Mars mining. Jim's moon mowing.
Well, Jim's Diggers could sort of go up there and sort of.
We did think of doing a Jim's space flight division, more as a. It was
an NFT thing back in the day.
NFT thing, yeah. And then you could have your purple one for Mars and your red one for Mars, and you have the moon version and this kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
I think it's great actually. I really think. Elon Musk is a bit of a controversial character these days, but I like the idea of colonising Mars. I really do.
Yeah.
I was a big science fiction fan when I was younger. In fact, if you asked me when I was 18 what I wanted to be, I wanted to be a science fiction writer. That was my big aim. Complete failure in that respect. But
Cool. There you go. Good question. Thanks for that
very
one.
exciting.
Cool. I've got a couple online real quickly, Jim. So Philip Macedon's gone, as much as people complain about Jim's prices, it helps keep our industry standards high. Thanks, mate, from Coastal Mow down. So it's from a rival independent business, but he's saying that you're helping him obviously be able to charge more as well.
Yeah, it's true actually. Some people charge ridiculous little. There's a guy who sits in front of us in church he's got Michael's Mowing on, and I can't believe how little money he makes. And I said, mate, why don't you join? We'll give you a free franchise. You double your income overnight if you did that, because his prices are terrible.
I've got a few more online as well. Has anyone any questions for Jim? Please feel free to come up and ask. For you guys to ask him anything you like. All right, I'll get a few more online. So Julie Fuller's gone here. I was told there are no Jim's Dog Wash franchises in my area on the Central Coast. I'm near Tuggerah and emailed the company and was told there's no one available. How can this be? So maybe I think there's no franchisees that service her area, so unserviced lead.
Yeah. Well, the problem is not so much. There may be franchises there, but they're busy. Dog Wash and fencing has the two worst problems of unserviced leads of any division. We had an entire conference last year, all completely paid for by the surplus from the advertising fund for Dog Wash. We just can't spend the money because they're so flat out. We've got 200 and something franchisees. We could have 1,000. It would not exhaust the market. It's a massive market.
It was around 30,000 unserviced last year for Dog Wash, yeah.
We've got a new deal actually that's starting up just shortly where we're going to be out of it. For those who need it, franchise 100% finance. Not through us, but through another company, because our attrition rate's low enough to make that worthwhile. So we're hoping to see a big growth, especially in divisions like fencing and Dog Wash and Mowing. We need people desperately.
We're not probably a few back to can't get finance. Wouldn't they be good franchisees, but they just can't get the finance for it. So that's the new offer that's coming out soon. Cool. Got any questions, guys, for Jim? Feel free to come up and ask him. No? I'll keep going for the ones online. So one here from Scott's gone here. With promoting and selling franchises, there seems to be different approaches and levels of information provided by franchisors. Why is there a disparity in approach within a division, e.g. Mowing?
Different franchisors have a different approach, and no one way works the same for everybody. Some people like to give very full information. Other people like to give basic information and then want to get in front of somebody and talk to them and get them the full information like that. It's whatever works. Yeah. But we don't insist. We just say everybody's got to have the proper information. They've got to have the contract. They've got to hold it for 14 days. There's a whole lot of things we require, but it's to when the information is provided. That's up to the franchisor.
Yeah, check out the podcast or the YouTube channel. It's all on there as well. So that's pretty much everything you need to know. So.
You can find out a lot about gyms without ever talking to a gyms person, really, because there's so much online these days. Thanks to
very true.
This guy here.
If you've got a question, guys, feel free to come up and ask Jim. We got a bit of time. Yeah, just come up and ask. Just go for it. I'm sure there's heaps of things you want to ask him. It's great because it's recorded on camera and you can hold him to it down the track if you want. So ask him anything you like.
This is a guy from Alice Springs.
Yeah, Alice Springs.
He likes the heat.
Yeah,
Very hot.
The best.
His family come from South Sudan, and from there, 40 degrees is a nice cool day, isn't it?
40 degrees, yeah, the best. Oh, beautiful.
So perfect for the climate.
Yeah. Anyway, my question was, what do you think is the difference like between you and other service providers, and when did you like feel that you were like taking off and like so.
It's sort of hard for me to say that, but let me tell you one thing. The one thing I would say to anybody ever, check out the competition. Definitely do that. Talk to anybody as well as us. Get hold of a list of their franchisees, ring them, get hold of a list of ours and ring them. And I am very confident they'll join us, because I know quite well that our people are happier. And that is really the point. Now, it doesn't necessarily apply. There may be some fantastically good franchise systems out there I don't really know. But I do know the ones that I'm aware of. We had one particular franchise getting on with their franchisor and left to join a rival franchise system, and he rang us back 3 months later and said, "Can I come back?" Because the leads were just terrible.
Yeah. So do you think that's what the difference is?
The difference is our people are happier.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Okay. Our first priority is the welfare of franchisees. That is it. We make it work. But I just say to anybody, don't just believe me. The last thing you should ever do is listen to a sales pitch. What you should do is research for yourself. Spend time talking to current franchisees and ask them what they think, how they're being looked after, how much work is there, how much money they're making, if they'll tell you. Are they making a good income? Just ask that, and you'll get an answer very clear, and you'll understand why we're growing so fast. We're about the size of probably our nearest 15, 20 competitors combined these days.
There you go. Did everyone call a franchisee before coming to training at least? Call them? Yep, awesome.
Oh, good on you. All right, well done.
Very good.
Yes, it's a good sign. Actually, it's one of the signs we look for in a franchisee. If you've done your homework, the more you've done, the better. If you've talked to franchisees, if you've talked to the competition, if you've looked at the stuff online, which most of you have, I know. If you've done your research, that's a very good sign.
Cool. Guys, got a question for Jim. Who's got a question for Jim? We normally don't struggle for questions. Everyone comes up. So have you got a question?
It's the biggest group we've ever had.
I know. Might be a bit hard with a bigger group. Might be
I suppose.
What's been your proudest moment as the founder of Jim's Group?
Nice question. Proudest moment.
I think what happened during COVID, honestly. We had a terrible time in Melbourne because of that stupid lockdown, which had no economic sense to it. But what really moved me very much is the way that our people looked after each other. All the franchisors immediately said no fees, which is obvious. But there's one of our competitors in New Zealand actually Greenacres kept on charging fees, but nobody in Jim's would dream of doing that. But they kept on, even though they weren't charging fees, they kept on ringing the franchise and keeping in touch with them. And the franchise looked after each other. I'd have somebody ringing up to say, "Listen, I'm out of work, but I'm better off than most. Can I help?" And there was a lady who was a dog washer, and because she was a student, she had no government income. And the government forbade her to work, and she was being faced with eviction from her home, and she couldn't buy food. And the other franchisees rallied around and gave her meal vouchers and stuff. And we said, "If you can't get kid, you come and stay here. We'll put you up here." That was very, very moving. And that to me is the essence of what we are more than anything. This culture we have where we're like an extended family, that people care about each other. And every time I hear somebody goes to a meeting and they said, everybody's there so willing to help, I hear that so many times. Or my franchisor really cares about me, and they really keep in touch. They're just when I ring my 10-year veterans, which I do, 10, 20-year veterans, I get that story all the time. That makes me proud. Much more than numbers, I can tell you. I did not expect to have this many, but I'm really wrapped in the people that we've got.
And also, what do you think was probably the most pivotal moment in the business where you knew it was just skyrocketing?
Well, the first year was surprising. Like I said when we first started that one day if we're successful we might have as many as 100. We had like 60 in the first year. I was just flabbergasted because I was up against a much more entrenched competitor in those days. They had 250 franchisees. And so I didn't thought I could just survive against them. That was my aim. And I was just amazed how strong the response was. They just got, it blew me away. Even then, it kind of surprised me still. It took me a long time. I almost, after the first couple of years of my business, I got into big trouble with my first divorce, and I was thinking at one stage of selling up and so forth, and just because of, financial pressures and stuff from that. But one of the things that really heartened me was my franchisees were quite upset. They said, no, we don't want you to go. So I thought, okay, all right. That gives me a sense of purpose.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very, very good question. Good, great question. We've got heaps of time, guys, so feel free to ask Jim a question. I'll get to one online though, Jim, as well. A lady's gone in, Maria, it's gone, there's a huge shortage in daycares. Would you consider investing in? Obviously, they're site-based, so probably not.
No.
Nah, not for that one.
That's a very hard one. It's
Yeah.
very government regulated and so forth. They don't like it.
Yeah.
Service industry is good. We've got so much we could do. We could have so many divisions. We haven't got optometrists. We haven't got doctors. We haven't got people to do with hearing. We haven't got so many different divisions we could have. We could put a lot more divisions on than we've currently got now, and we'd never run out of things to franchise.
Absolutely. We always get a division request every couple of weeks or every week. So.
Yeah, we do. Probably at least once every week or two we would get somebody interested in a new division. Only a small fraction come about. We've got to look very carefully at who they are. But just someone like Lance, that was just a conversation. When was it? Last year, Lance. That's long ago. But Lance was he's just a good mowing franchisee. See, when you look at somebody to become a franchisor or start a new division, you're looking at three things. First of all, are they got great customer service ratings? Secondly, are they making good money? Because you can't be training somebody else if you don't make good money yourself. And you want somebody who's ideally had a practice of being helpful. So I had a phone call on Monday from this guy from who's looking at taking on regional rights for part of New South Wales for mowing. And great record. He's got like a 5.0 rating. He's turning about $500,000 a year, which is not too bad. And he's only fairly new too. And also he's been involved in local training and support. So there's a perfect potential franchisor or new division. So in this room today, there may well be, quite likely is, going to be a future franchisor or new division. Because that's where we look. Well, what I find actually is that the best place to look for talent is internally. Like Joel actually came into business in a very junior role. We don't tend to employ high. We find people who've got real ability, who start at the ground floor and just work their way up and show their ability. So most of our top people actually come from within.
There you go. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim. We've got some time as well. You get a prize, so if you want the beers, just ask Jim a question. Science, happiness, whatever, relationship advice, ask him a question. Feel free to come up and ask him.
Yeah, if you want advice on being happily married, I'm the person to ask, and I'll tell you what not to do.
You know what to do. Yeah, exactly.
I've been divorced 3 times because my wives couldn't stand me, so there you are. But very happily married for 23 years now, in fact 24 coming up. My wife's been away for a week and a half doing a buying trip, and I miss her badly. Come back tomorrow morning. Yes!
You got it right on the 4th time. So, 4th time.
Fourth time I did well.
Yeah.
Hello, Jim.
Right there.
How are you?
That's good.
That's good?
Yes.
Lovely. My question is, what is the most rebellious thing you've ever done?
Most rebellious thing Jim's done.
Rebellious?
Mm.
Well, when I was at school, I was very... my best friend was suspended and told to stay away from me with a bad influence. I used to put up notices on the notice board advocating things like legalization of homosexuality, which was very, very... Church school in the 1960s, very, very controversial and all kinds of stuff like that. And they get people talking about Christians talking, and my friend and I would go and quiz them. We were considered very rude. I was kind of anti-Christian in those days, so it's very ironic considering where I am now. But I was very much a rabble rouser in those days.
A rabble rouser.
A rabble rouser.
I'm very unconventional. I don't take word of authority.
It's the best way to be.
Good way to be for an entrepreneur, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, when I was at university, I got into so much trouble at university because I just had so much different ideas to anybody else. I didn't care what anybody else thought. I said, if all the professors are telling me I'm wrong, I don't think I'm wrong. Give me the reason. Show me the evidence I'm wrong.
Exactly,
I don't care.
because look where you are now. That's the way to go.
Yes. You have to believe in yourself. You got to listen. Amen. If somebody's got a good idea, I like that word.
There you go, Jimmy. That's a good one. If you've got a question for Jim, guys, please feel free to come up and ask him. Everyone gets a prize who does it. Got one here online, Jim. He says, Billy's gone, I love my franchise. How do you know it's the right time to become a franchisor? So this is probably a good question for everyone here. So he loves his franchise. How does he know it's the right time to become a franchisor?
Well, first of all, the one thing I'd say is most of the top earners in gyms are not franchisors at all. They're actually franchisees. There are quite a few turning over well over $1 million a year, and which is more than most franchisors actually make. But I think to a large extent, being a franchisor, being the kind of person who likes being a coach, that's the one thing we look for, somebody who really likes helping other people. And if you get a real kick out of that, a sense of purpose in your life, it's a very meaningful, because you can actually have somebody who's new in the business and you talk to them, you ring them weekly, at least weekly ideally, even long term, and you coach them and you help them when they have problems and you encourage them and you get them through that, and then you see this person who blossoms out and they've got a better lifestyle and they can spend time with their family and they're making money and they're going ahead financially for the first time in life, and it's incredibly rewarding. I must say I love it when I'm going to write to you guys in a month's time, and you're going to apply, aren't you? Is that right? Yeah. You will? Yep. I'll be really hurt and insulted if you don't, but most of you will actually tell me you're doing well. I tell you what, that gives me a real boost. Every time I get back an email that says, hey, it's gone really well, my franchisor is great, I'm making more than paperwork guarantee, I love it, best thing I've done. I love that sort of comment. It really makes my day. It affects me more than anything. I had a occasion late last year when in the same week, one of my franchisees was failing, doing really badly, and I got $1 million unexpected tax bill. And I can tell you which one accepted the most, by far. The franchisee did. Money's just money. But seeing people succeed, and if you've got that kind of attitude, it's as good a job as you could possibly have in the whole world.
There you go. $1 million tax bill. I wouldn't like to get that one. It's not a good one to get. Not a good one to get. No, definitely not.
Well, I guess money doesn't buy happiness.
If you got a question, guys, feel free to come up and ask Jim. We've got some time. Anything that's on your mind, just ask Jim. Don't be shy. You get a prize at the end, so it's a good time to do it. We'll see this gentleman coming up. Fantastic. Go for it. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Hey Jim, I'm Scott.
Hey, Scott.
I've come into gyms, researched a lot of different franchises, chose gyms as my model. My plan was to spend the next 10, 12, 15 years going into retirement and have a choice of how do I control my workflow, my income going to retirement. My question to you is, you're not 21, what is the succession plan for gyms, and who will lead gyms for the next 20, 30 years in this wonderful business as you go into retirement?
Okay, we're setting up a family trust. The deal will be that there'll be a board of directors. They'll be chosen, I forget the exact number, I think it's
5 or 4.
3 will be chosen from amongst my children. 1 will be chosen by Jim's people, and 1 will be representing my foundation, which is where most of the money is actually going to, the research foundation. And they will run gyms, and it's very strictly defined what they can do. There's a certain amount of money to make kids and grandchildren, helping them to buy homes and stuff, which is very difficult these days, but they're never going to be trust fund kids. Most of the money will go into the research foundation. And as I said to you on Monday morning, there's also a clause in the contract that says the control of Jim's group cannot be sold to anybody without the written consent of majority of franchisees. So what I'm trying to set up from beyond the grave, if I can, is a system where my franchises looked after the best possible. Because my worst nightmare is something like Retail Food Group come along and say, okay, we can make money. And they start putting your fees up and putting exactions on. They can do terrible things. And it's very difficult to stop that happening now. So I'm trying to work it out to give my franchisees the best protection. Having said that, I'm in perfect health as much as you can be, apart from having a cold today, and I'll probably live about 20 years. I should be reasonably okay to go in early and mid-90s. So it's going to be a fair time. I've got some kids too who are very, very capable, so I'm hoping they'll play a role.
Probably be retired before Jim maybe retires.
I hope to be. And very grateful for that opportunity that you're providing that future for us.
I'd love to think everybody here will be still around in 20 years' time. You'd be the best group ever if that happened, but
There'll be AI, Jim. There's that much video on Jim, we can upload him in clone.
Oh, that's what he keeps on saying.
But you can ask, what would Jim do and upload all his emails into
AI.
that? Yeah, you can upload all Jim's emails. What would Jim do?
But all these things too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
There's lots. Good question.
Appreciate it.
That's a good thing though. 10 to 15 years he's got planned to stay with Jim's, which is great. And then after 15 years, you can go to 2-3 days a week, which a lot of guys do. They might not work the Thursday or the Friday, and they have their best paying clients from the Monday to Wednesday. I actually spoke to a guy today who does exactly that. Yeah, absolutely. 10, 15
Or you put
plans.
workers on, and so you do the hardest work for them too. Sometimes you can go off the road yourself, could become a franchisor, could start a new division, you could do all kinds of things. We've got a lot of people, particularly in the mowing division, still working in their 70s. One guy
80s. Jeff Campbell's in the 80s.
He just passed his 80th birthday, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, yeah. He started at 78.
Yeah.
He did too. Yeah. He was on the Today Show with Carl Stefanovic, the old Jeff, so.
Just behind.
Yeah, just behind. No, good question, really appreciate it. Guys, you got a question for Jim, feel free to come up and ask him, guys. We've got some time for some more. Real quick one on here online. If you want, someone's got one, just come up. Sean's gone, g'day Jim. If someone wanting to join a new franchise doesn't own a home or near the fees to start, are there options for repayments to be able to conduct a franchise under an agreement? So I guess the finance deal for example.
Yeah, we are working on a finance deal, at least for the regions that we are initially, where we can provide 100% finance to suitable operators. Because we know the chance of people failing is really quite low. So it's a pretty good deal overall. So we've got somebody prepared to provide 100% finance, and hopefully they'll go across Jim's group eventually. Just got to prove the model.
So the answer to Sean is yes, hopefully not too long, so
Yeah,
get that process.
Depends what division and what area too.
Yeah, correct. Then the Aussie pool guy's jumped on and says, pool guy in the house, he goes, Jim sounds a little hoarse, is he okay? He's checking on your welfare.
Yeah.
You got a cold?
I got a cold.
Yeah. But he's done well to come here. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up. We've got time for a couple more. Anything on your mind at all? Good chance to ask. Anyone ask you a question gets a prize. Maybe ask there about your new books. Maybe they're working on or something. Happiness, health, those sorts of things. No one's asked you about that.
Yeah, I'm working on a book which is based on my research that comes out of my PhD on the plunging birth rate. It's called the birth rate crisis, talking about the declining fertility rate throughout the world, particularly in wealthy countries, and what's causing that. There's a change in character which has deep biological roots. That's coming out, and there's a solution to it, which is different from anything anybody's considering. It's a medical epigenetic solution. That's coming out later this year.
We've actually started your new podcast, which you don't know about, but I did it. It's called Conversations with Jim, and all the stuff you talk about, your birth rate, your happiness and health, and that's all on that one as well.
Yeah.
So Conversations with Jim, you can see there as a podcast and stuff like that. So that's where all the birth rate stuff will be. Cool, come up, go for it. Ask anything you like.
I'm sick of being the person that asks all the
No,
questions.
it's good. You need it.
In your book about the plunging birth rate, etc., is there a section based on sort of obviously the fear around sort of where the world is headed, and obviously thinking about, if I were to have a child, thinking about the kind of world that child would be living in, and mayhaps it's not really a world that I would want to be born into, and so maybe that might be a part of the factors. Is that something that you're looking into as well?
I think there's a pessimism about the world, but I think that's more a result of the change in character.
Oh.
The rates of mental illness, unhappiness, loneliness have been rising dramatically. I think it's a reflection of that. Because objectively speaking, the world has never been more prosperous. I don't know if it always will continue to be so. I think there's dangers up ahead. But look at what's your chance of having your child die before they grow up? It's tiny. It used to be 50% of kids used to die before the age of 5, which is unimaginable as a parent. I've got 10 kids, they're all alive. They've all grown up. Isn't that amazing?
It's crazy.
Got enough to food. Nobody's dying of starvation, at least not in this country. In most countries of the world. I mean, objectively speaking, we live in a very, very good world. So I don't think pessimism about the world is the reason. The basic reason people don't have children is because their priorities are different. When I started having kids, I didn't have a house. I was actually in debt. I was working as a mowing contractor supporting my wife. We lived in a very, very ordinary sort of house, and I just worked very hard to put food on the table. It was just, kids was what I wanted. We wanted a family. So if that's your top priority, you'll have it. People like the Amish and Orthodox Jews, Haredi, they have very large families still, because that's what they want. That's their priorities. And people have just a terrible attitude. I think they just give people wrong priorities. You've got to enjoy children. If you enjoy children, it's easy to have a lot because it's the most meaningful thing you can do. I love my kids, I really do. It's been a great joy. Even though most of them have basically gone up and left home now. I've been seeing them when, well, it was fantastic on Sunday because my wife's away. I'm a bit, you know, by myself. But one of my daughters invited me with her partner. I just had dinner at their place, and we had a really nice meal, and we were talking about politics and arguing about Trump and all the rest of it. You know, typical family stuff. But that's a great blessing. And then I was spending time with my 15-year-old son, and children are such an enormous blessing. And that's what we need. We need to love, enjoy our children, and not try and micromanage them and helicopter them. I just kick them out, you know. I do not helicopter my kids. My son Aaron, he thinks I'm a very cruel father because if we're sitting somewhere like a buffet or somewhere and he wants to get a drink, he wants me to get it for him when he was quite young. I said, no, you go and ask. He said, Dad, no, you ask. I said, no, you go and ask. You learn how. And he wasn't good on public transport, so I drove him down to the station and stood over him while he worked the machine. And now he travels anywhere. So you've got to push your children out to engage with life. You don't mind. You give them clear guidelines. And then they become a real joy and a pleasure. And they're happier and they turn out better. So that's a long rant, isn't it? But
thanks, Jim.
Have you got any kids?
No, I'm a part of the population that is not looking at having kids right now. Because I would like to have a stable future before I bring a person into it.
We are going to give you a stable future as a franchisee
I
of Jim's.
know, how wonderful.
You're going to have a great, stable future. Yes. I can tell you'll be a wonderful mother.
Thank you.
Cool. So Jim, thanks for your questions tonight, everyone. What we'll do, guys, is Jim will always read out his 3 favourite questions, and if you ask him a question, you come up to me and you can pick anything you like as well. We've got gift cards as well. But who are your 3 favourite questions, Jim, and they get pick of the prizes?
Gee, there were so many good ones. I like the one who talked about brand dilution. Nobody's ever asked that
yes,
before.
brand dilution. Where's the gentleman who asked about brand dilution? Who's in the white T-shirt?
Never had that
Is he
question
here or he's
asked.
gone? Yeah, come up and pick anything you like. Come up and grab anything you like.
First pick.
Come up, grab anything you like. Who's the next one?
Calibration of tools. That was a really good idea. Who thought about that?
Test and tag. Yep, come up, grab anything you like.
Come and grab anything you like.
Now, there is a $20 gift cards as well, so up to you. You can take anything you like, just not the laptop. You want to take that? All right, no way, you can take that. Cool, go for it. Grab anything you like.
Oh, stop. What's this?
Somebody asked
Good
about me
t-shirt.
being rebellious. That was a good question. Nobody ever asked that one before.
All right, come up, Jenna. All right. Now, everyone else who asked a question, please come up and see me at the end. You can pick anything you like, which is obviously
Or you can get a gift card.
a gift card as well. Yep. So,
You buy anything from
anyone
the
asked a question? So, real quickly before we end tonight, Jim, are you going to do photos tonight or not? Or
Yeah, I'll be photos.
All right. So, what we're going to do tonight, Wednesday is a mad rush for photos. What you can do tonight is you can come give me your phone. I'll get you a photo with Jim here. It's probably a bit more relaxed than it is on a Wednesday as well. And then obviously we've got the trade day, March 16, which is available. You can see on jims.net as well. If you ask me a question, please feel free and come up and grab a beer, grab a Monopoly, grab whatever you want as well. If you ask the question, come at the end as well. Thank you for your attendance tonight. We appreciate it. Have a good luck with your rest of your training week. Appreciate it. Cool.